Take your camera. My friend, will you get up from my face? Will you get up from my face? Will you stop that nonsense?
Welcome back, guys. I trust you've been staying safe. Now, today's true crime story is coming to you from the West African country of Nigeria, and it's about a young man called Uduak Akpan, whom you saw at the beginning of this video. What you saw happening to him was the beginning of the end for him, for a heinous trend of crimes that he committed against a young, budding 26-year-old female tertiary student who was just trying to hustle hard and earn her keep. What did this guy do to her? This lady has since lost her life and has been buried, and she is in the person of Iniubong Umoren. Sorry if you are not familiar with the name. It's a traditional Nigerian name, but this young man was able to lure her under very tempting circumstances, violate her sexually, and then take her life, as if that was not enough. And the law finally caught up with him. How did he do this? And he did all this actually through just Twitter. How did he plot this scheme? What happened? And what did the law do with him? This true crime story involves some politicians, some pastors, and a lot of question marks as to how some people are able to sleep at night, despite the evil that they plot before they sleep. If you are ready for this true crime story, just buckle up and let's go. A few days leading up to the 14th of May 2021, 26-year-old Iniubong Umoren had seen a job advertisement on Twitter. She was looking to get a job, earn some money, and be able to improve her life and take some financial burden off her family as well, since she was actually still in school. Personally, I think that this is very honorable of her, and it shows her determination as a woman of substance seeking to make something of herself and not become just another dependent on someone's paycheck. This is honorable and should have been commended. But unfortunately for Umoren, the job advertisement that she saw on Twitter, which was advertising for a vacancy for a secretary of a farm, was actually a trap by somebody lurking in the shadows. She didn't know anything about the evil behind the advertisement, and she actually picked the bait and responded, expressing interest in the possibility of occupying this vacancy. She got a response from the advertiser, and an arrangement was reached that she would be visiting this advertiser or her would-be employer on the 14th of May 2021 for an interview. So early in the morning, Umoren got out of bed, went about her usual morning stuff, and said goodbye to the people around her. Little did they and herself know that that was actually the final goodbye that she would ever say to them on this earth. Upon getting to the directions or the location that had been shared with her by this would-be employer, she met a young man by name Uduak Akpan. Uduak gave her a seat, and she took the seat. She obliged, she sat down, and then this conversation ensued between them. Uduak asked her if she was ready and capable and willing to actually work as a secretary on a farm. to which Umoren replied in the affirmative. Things were looking bright as far as Umoren was concerned, because at least this showed that the vacancy had not yet been filled. And I think that in her zeal to get employed, she might have missed some few red flags. Because if you look at Uduak, for me, maybe I'm able to see this in hindsight because this case has already happened. But if you look at this young man, how can he employ you? But then again, looks can be deceiving. So, upon responding in the affirmative, Uduak then actually brings the conversation back again to tell Umoren that there is actually no farm for you to go and work on. It was all a plot to just get you here. And by this time, they are actually in a room which he owns in one way or the other. So it was more like Umoren was trapped in this room now. So imagine how she would be feeling. You left your home thinking that you are going for an interview, and just like that, at the snap of a finger, this interview has suddenly changed from a would-be job interview to a case of being trapped and possibly kidnapped by someone you thought was going to be your would-be employer. This is crazy, and I think it's too heavy for someone to process within such a short interval at which the case just spun around. But this is the situation that Umoren was faced with at this moment. As if that was not enough, Uduak began to make sensual advances towards Umoren, to which Umoren resisted and pleaded with him to allow her to leave since there was no job for her. But unfortunately for her, Uduak refused. Things were getting tensious now, and to make matters worse, Uduak was forward with his request by saying that he would allow Umoren to leave, but the only way or the only condition on which he would allow her to leave is if she allows him to make love to her. Imagine the sadistic thinking and nature of a man that would draw the conversation to this point. You've lured someone under false pretenses to an interview for a vacancy that never existed, and you've trapped this person, and you are insisting this person makes love to you before you leave. So I begin to wonder, how did this person manage to sleep at night? Because you had this plot in mind and you were able to sleep and wake up, and you took your bath, you brushed your teeth, you put on your clothing, and you sat waiting for your victim. I just don't get how people are able to go through that process knowing that they are coming to do evil to others. Honestly, I run this channel, but I still struggle to appreciate how people can plan these things ahead and execute to the letter without feeling any remorse or without changing their minds and abandoning the evil. I just don't get it. If you know something I don't, please leave it in the comment section, because I struggle to understand these things as to how they are able to sleep peacefully knowing they are going to wake up and perpetrate such evil on another human being. So back to the case at hand. A struggle then started ensuing because Umoren was not going to yield to that request, and I respect her for that. But Uduak was also insistent, so it became sort of a struggle. At a point, Umoren, realizing that she's the weaker person of the two, yielded and said that, okay, she would allow him to have his way with her only if he decides to use a condom, to which he obliged. And according to Uduak, this is in his confession, according to him, after this agreement, he tried putting on the condom, and just at that moment, Umoren took an iron and then struck him with it, which caused him to stagger a bit. And then a struggle ensued again, this time a very rigorous one, because she realized that it's a fight or flight situation and she needed to fight and flee. And he then, at this point, took the iron and also hit her with the iron. But then she fell and she started bleeding profusely. At this point, he tied her neck with her jeans trouser and started choking her. Long story short, he took her life and then dug a 3-foot grave on a land close by to an uncompleted building, and then he buried her in there, covered her up, came back to his room, cleaned up the bloody mess, and went about life as if nothing had happened. How do you do this? Just how do you do this? How do you do this? And he was able to have his way with the rape before doing all these things. So you begin to wonder what is going on in some people's minds. But he did this, and then he went about life as if there was nothing at stake. He fled. Fast forward, he got arrested, and then he started denying ever doing anything about this. But you know, the police also have their expertise in investigations like this. And at a point in time, they were able to get him to confess. I don't want to go so much into his confession. I've already said a lot about it. I'll pause here and then you hear the confession for yourself, after which I'll come back.
The audible.
The audible.
Listen now.
The audible.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Look at me.
Doctor. Go ahead, doctor.
Okay, fine. Tell us what happened. Not really, just let us know what happened on that day.
The audible. Phone.
What happened was that she came for a supposed job interview, which I used reverse psychology on her. I asked her whether she can work in the farm.
You can't speak up.
I asked her whether she can work in a farm where hard drugs are kept. I asked her whether she can work in a farm where hard drugs are kept as a secretary. And she said that she can, that she's ready to do the job. So when she came, I revealed to her that this farm doesn't exist. There's no farm like that. It was just a box, put it that way. So I told her that before she leaves that I would like to have sex with her, and she agreed, but she gave a condition that I should use a condom, which I did. And while I removed the condom, she became furious and she took the nearby stabilizer to hit me on my head. And then she beat my left ring finger and tried to reach for the door, screaming and tried to reach for the door. So while I was bleeding, in a bid to stop her, I used the stabilizer to hit her. And when I hit her, she fell and started bleeding. Then after she died.
So where did she hit you?
On my forehead.
Where is the wound? What did you do? You don't have. How come? You said she agreed to have sex with you and you used a condom. And then all of a sudden she started to attack you. How did it happen?
I said that while I was about removing the condom, she became furious.
Why did you want to remove the condom? Why did you want to remove the condom?
You injured her on her head. What did you use to hit her?
What did you use to hit her?
The same stabilizer she used to.
At what point was she shouting, screaming for help?
When I tried to remove the condom.
But you didn't use only stabilizer, you used something else. Say it.
Okay, that was an iron, pressing iron.
Where did you use to hit? Where did you hit her?
On her abdomen part, where she was biting me. So she held my biting me. So the only way I could stop her was to.
Was she your first victim?
No.
So how many people have you killed in that process?
Just say the truth.
I've not killed anyone.
Say the truth.
You said she was not your first victim. How many victims have fallen? How many girls or women have you done that to? Whether they died or they did not die? How many so far?
The same reverse side.
Yes, how many? Whether reverse or reverse?
About 6.
You see, what of that NYC school shoes in your house?
The NYC shoes is the shoe my mom used when she was in NYC that we use for family. The shoe is used for family in the house. It's not a copper shoe. It's not as if a copper came out.
How did your father assist you in this case?
He did not assist me.
Do you live in that house?
So who helped you to bury her?
But I saw you wouldn't. Just calm down some more. Your head don't enter my shop, please. Your head don't enter my shop.
The number of exercise books and textbooks that are in that compound. Who owns them? When those books. When look on there.
Exercise books. Those exercise books are owned by I and my sisters.
There are several names on them. None of it is your own name. Who are those people? Those names are not.
Several names. Different names.
Different names on them.
Absolutely.
If you open them, you see either my name or my sister's name.
How about the red gown? The red gown in the room. Who owns it? There's a red gown in one of the rooms. Yes.
Why did you go in by even seeing it here?
What's your level of education? What level? Which school?
What subject?
What subject? What course? What level? What level?
This was your relationship with Kufrefion.
And how did it help in this whole thing?
You called him on that mistake. What's the subject of conversation?
That was when I was coming back from 6. So while I was coming back,
Bring it down.
Now, how do you feel about what has happened? Hello, dear.
What was it of that?
At the time.
Stop this.
Go friend. Up. Up. Up.
when I arrived, so I called the DPO when I arrived.
Galaxy, take your own icon up. Channels. You're on our camera.
Where did they pick you?
At shelter.
When you kill her, why do you go and talk with the grave to bury her? Why not take it to the police or report to the police that somebody has died in your house?
So initially, what was your motive before you asked her to come to get the job? What was the motive? What was in your mind initially?
Well, initially, I used reverse psychology.
We know.
I've had very bad experiences with robbers girls and these prostitutes. So I used reverse psychology. I asked her whether she can work in the farm when hard drugs are kept, and she accepted. She wouldn't think that she takes marijuana. So I felt that that's the best
Patronizing prostitutes.
Now, how do you feel about what you've done? What you've done, you are before the whole world. How do you feel about what you've done?
I'm not happy about it, but I believe that the commissioner of police is working with his men. He has assured Nigerians, he has assured that Bible community and the entire world that justice will take its course. You guys should just.
Was your father around when this incident occurred? Your father been know that when this thing happened?
Are you remorseful? Are you remorseful of the entire incident?
Yes.
We don't sound and look remorseful.
You said justice should prevail. Now, if that justice means
Taking your life,
will you readily agree to losing your life for what you did?
Were you in love with the girl?
Which law?
So what is your advice to young men?
Now, fast forward from here, the body of Umoren was laid to rest, and it was a very sad situation. Even the women in that town came together to demonstrate, asking for justice for this young 26-year-old lady who had met her untimely death at the hands of this psychopath. And the court did not disappoint. Fast forward, Uduak was sentenced to death by hanging for the murder of Iniubong, Umoren, and then also sentenced to life imprisonment for the sexual abuse of the victim. As part of his confession, he actually went on to talk about the fact that he deals in human parts and that there are some politicians who have been buying from him, and that also there are 9 powerful pastors who have also been buying from him. Unfortunately, he could not give the names of these people. I don't understand why. This is not the first time. I don't understand why people come out with some of these things, but some way, somehow, the investigations are never able to bring out the specific names of the people involved or the people being implicated in this confession. But that is how this has ended. And for me, my heart goes out to the family of the victim. I wish them the strength to continue through life. This is a very young lady who had a lot of great prospects coming up, and it seemed like the world was going to be her oyster until she met this person who just cut her life short over something as stupid as this. And I shudder to think how people are able to go through life behaving like this. May she rest in peace. And as I always say, keep an eye out. You never know who is going to harm you or who intends to harm you. And personally, I believe that there are a lot of psychopaths around us going through life with us every day, pretending to be non-psychopaths. So you need a careful eye and a lot of intuition to have a chance to distinguish some of these people from the ones who have good intentions for you. Don't believe anything you see on the internet, or let me say, don't believe just anything that you see on the internet. Do your due diligence. Don't let your drive and your passion cause you to overlook your due diligence. Other than that, you could get caught up in things like this because it's actually on the rise now in 2023 here in Africa. The scams and schemes are always multiplying in various forms. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. It's free, but it means the whole world to us. And we thank you so much. Help us hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of April 2023. And wherever you are watching from, we'll catch you next time.